BioWare putting a majority of its staff on Anthem, pushing to meet their 2019 deadline. So I guess this story has two big parts. One, the game has been delayed into 2019.
Right.
And two, they've pulled their teams that were working on the new Dragon Age and Star Wars The Old Republic. They've pulled most of their staff in to try and
finish this game. Yeah,
make sure that it doesn't Andromeda itself.
Right. With Old Republic, they're basically just maintaining things,
Right.
making sure if something breaks, they can fix it.
Right.
Yeah. And Dragon Age, I'm assuming this will lead to a delay in their internal release date for Dragon Age, but I don't think any of us should worry about that right now.
Yeah,
BioWare
that's at
needs
least 2 years out.
They need a win, and I think Anthem is their answer to getting some sort of a win,
sure.
especially after
BioWare, EA, they both need it.
They both need it, and people are not happy with BioWare. I don't think people have been happy with BioWare since Mass Effect 3.
Right.
After which Mass Effect 3's ending, of course, if any of you out there have actually played Mass Effect games, you know the ending for Mass Effect 3 was disappointing. It was just disappointing to say the least. But I mean, people have hashed this out 1,000 times, but it didn't take in 3 games worth of content into that finale, and that's what you had dreamed of when you first picked up Mass Effect. The original was, this is all going to be a huge trilogy, and all my decisions are going to have this impact in the final moments of the game, of the trilogy. And it was just like, choose this or that, okay.
Yeah.
And it was like, what?
But looking at Anthem,
right,
and how their previous mistakes are impacting the development of Anthem, because really a lot of what I've kind of read from this article from Kotaku is written by Jason Schreier, I think. Yes, he goes into explain a lot about what happened with Andromeda and how EA was really pushing for them to use the Frostbite engine, and how all of their kind of plans for Andromeda ended up falling apart because it didn't fit into that engine. And so now here they are again working on a game that was, being thought up and created while Andromeda was being made, that they have to kind of reshape around the Frostbite engine, which kind of creates this friction. They want to do so much with Anthem, and what we've already seen of the game is beautiful. And it's great so far. Like, it's absolutely cool. Everybody wants to be Iron Man. It looks like the world is fleshed out and full, but we've only seen like that little bit of gameplay.
Right, that EA trailer that they released, or not EA, excuse me, that E3 trailer that they released, and that's it. That's all we've seen from it.
Right, and there's been no new story trailer. There's been no new gameplay footage of any sort.
Right,
and so right now it's kind of looking more like they just want to make sure the game is polished, finished, and as up to par as everyone wants it to be. They're looking at people like Destiny 2, and Bungie's big flop right now with Destiny 2, because they took a couple steps back, and they're trying to win back their player base now with patches and updates, and they've got stuff to do for the next year until they can get that game finished. They don't want Anthem to hit shelves and then face that backlash that Destiny 2 has had.
Yeah.
Because with these like social shooter, looter, open world, living story type games, yeah, you can push content out and you can create updates and everything, but if the game sucks at launch, people are going to forget about it. They're going to talk bad about it. Look at the Division. It took them a year and a half to finally start getting people to start playing that game.
Right.
And it doesn't look good to investors. It doesn't look good to your shareholders when your game doesn't sell copies fresh off the bat.
And like you said, you lose a certain level of interest. People get so hyped. Like, I mean, that is such a huge thing in games, is like you get so pumped up and hyped about a new game that looks really cool, and then to buy that game for $60, which is probably another part of it, you're going to make the vast majority of your money on those initial sales. So you buy a game for $60, it's not what you expected. It doesn't hit those highs that you had created in your mind, but it doesn't even necessarily get even close to those. You're not telling your friends to buy that game anymore. No. You're not saying, hey, Bo, come and get whatever Anthem with me, and we'll just like tear it up for a couple months and play the crap out of it.
Right.
That goes away, and once that's gone, I mean, that's huge. That's a huge hit. I totally understand why BioWare wants to rework. Well, not rework Anthem, but I totally understand why they want to get it right. And especially also in terms of Andromeda, which was a quarter of a game they basically released. You know, it was like it was so disappointing that
I traded it in for Mario Kart.
Right. Understandably, why wouldn't you? So, I think there was good things to be taken away from Andromeda. There's lessons to be learned, and I think there was like some elements of it that were good. I personally enjoyed the gameplay element of it.
Yeah.
I thought jetpacking around and shooting was fun.
I mean, I feel like the mechanics were fun.
Yeah.
I do feel like the enemy AI was clunky and
it was
dumb, and they weren't
repetitive.
Smart. Yeah, and it was like everywhere you went, it just felt like the same fight over and over and over again.
Exactly.
Like,
and
hide some cover, shoot some stuff. Like, they gave you the choice to have all these abilities, but you felt like you didn't need them because what you already had was working at some point already.
Right.
Like, why change it?
Right. And even to change it, like you said, it's not like there's this unique enemies that you need to find creative ways to beat. You know.
It's not like Warframe.
Right. It's all the same.
Which gives you so many different settings and so many different enemies, which it could have been. I feel like that's kind of what they wanted.
I think that is what they wanted it. I think that they did want it to be this like, and that's another thing. The worlds weren't fleshed out enough. Nothing about that game felt finished.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
They don't want to make the same mistake with Andromeda. I mean, with Anthem, excuse me.
And now it's their only option is to go in, full stop. Make sure they cram everything out well, polished, good to go, or else people aren't going to play that game.
Well, exactly, and I think that there's two...
The streamers are going to get it on EA Access.
Right, and play it 2 days early or 3 days early or whatever.
And then people are going to cancel their pre-orders if it's not good. It's going to be Battlefront 2 all over again. That's the problem with...
And Andromeda.
On EA's side, with EA Access.
Right.
Is... Okay, you put it out on EA Access, now everybody gets to see all the flaws with your game before they go and pick it up.
Right. And I'm glad that they do that to an extent, because it does expose that these games are not finished. Like Andromeda, where it had all the facial animation issues, and people pointed that out, boom, 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 right? And you cannot have mistakes like that in Anthem. I will, like you said, also mentioning Battlefront 2, I think that's also a really great point. I think they need to learn from that.
This is something that EA needs to get right. It's something BioWare needs to get right.
They both need it. They both really need this game to be good. And I hope EA's willing to take a little bit of a, not necessarily a financial hit, but like a little bit of a, let's go back on our microtransactions type of hit and think, okay, maybe we should just give people a bunch of great content for free, just to show that we're not freaking Scrooges of the gaming world anymore.
EA needs to earn our trust back.
Right.
Period.
Yep. I have faith that there are people at BioWare who can make really great games.
Oh, no doubt.
What I'm obviously afraid of is that EA will ruin it. And I think that Anthem is, like you said, it's the opportunity for EA to, again, to show that they can make a really fun game that's not going to gouge you for the money. But it's EA. And I don't blame people. I don't blame people at all for being skeptical that this game is just going to be a cash grab for EA. But if they do that, they're condemning BioWare. That is the end of BioWare if EA, in my opinion, that's the end of BioWare if EA decides to turn this game into a cash grab.
So, Jason Schreier, the guy that wrote the article on Kotaku that kind of blew this out, said that he asked one of his sources within Anthem whether the struggles that they were working on felt more like this game is screwed or that game development is really hard. Which I think, that's an important question. And the source said over the time it veered from the game is screwed to just it's hard, right? which is kind of what alludes a little bit to the whole Frostbite thing, because they were kind of working with their own engine, and then they picked up Frostbite, and now you have a whole company that's having to relearn their platform, right? The new Frostbite engine is great. It can handle 4K extremely well. It can handle a lot of action really well. It can handle vast open areas super well without having to load. Like, if you think about the size of some of those Battlefield maps and how far you can actually travel
and how
in
much,
like a conquest from end to end without having a load break, it's kind of mind-blowing.
And how many people you can throw in there and how much crap you can destroy. I mean, like how many you can destroy in every building in the entire, on like a lot of those maps, right? So that's
a lot of data.
Yeah, Frostbite is really good at certain things. The problem with Andromeda and what looks like could be a potential problem with Anthem is that there's other things that it does not handle well at all.
Right.
Facial animations. So,
which, if they handle it all cinematically, if they handle the story and facial animation cinematically and leave the in-game stuff to, like, masks,
yeah,
then you don't have to worry about that.
And I think that's what they're probably thinking about doing, which is smart. Have cutscenes have cutscenes with hand-done animations, and then all the other stuff, just, you're in a suit. You're in a big armored Iron Man suit.
Yeah, your face doesn't move.
Face doesn't move. It looks fine. It looks cool. I mean, whatever. Who needs a face when you got a cool suit on?
There is a beta supposed to be coming out for this before launch. So I'm going to go ahead and speculate that that'll be out kind of around the initial release date of fall 2018. I may be ambitious. It may not be until winter or, early 2019, like a month or two before the game comes out, just for them to test servers and everything. But there will be a beta for the game coming out. I think pushing it back an extra, 4 months is going to help. It's going to give them time to make sure that the game launches smoothly. It's going to give them time to make sure their server infrastructure is fine. They should be able to handle it. I mean, they've been doing the Old Republic for years now, so they know an MMO.
Right.
They know the MMO multiplayer
takes a lot of server power.
Right.
I'll say that I think my only concern about the pushing it back again is that Andromeda was pushed back a year and a half, and Inquisition was also pushed back, I believe. So maybe Frostbite is really giving them huge issues, because those are the last two games that Bioware did, and those are the two games that were on Frostbite. So both of them delayed. Andromeda was really delayed and ultimately came out being complete. Not complete, but not literally not complete. I mean, that's it.
Right. Yeah, it didn't felt flushed out at all.
Yeah.
I'm setting the bar high for that game, and if it doesn't meet that high standard, it's
right.
I don't know if it'll get my money.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not. After Andromeda, I refused to pre-order games from anything from EA. And I think a lot of people also learned that lesson from Battlefront 2, that you just don't pre-order from... Unless you really love the company and you really trust them, I think that's the only time you should pre-order. I will probably pre-order CD Projekt Red's next game, Cyberpunk.
Yeah, they're not a public company, though.
Yeah, I don't want to blame it on EA being a public company, but maybe it is, because they are chasing the money instead.
The reason this is not pushed back further is because they want it out by the end of their fiscal year. Like, it comes down to shareholders. When shareholders get involved, things take a turn for the worse, because it becomes a cash cow instead of a passion project.
That's true. I'm glad that they're taking a little more time on it. I hope that it reaches those heights that I have for it in my mind, but we'll have to wait and see.
It needs to.
It needs to. It really does. It legitimately. I really do think that this is BioWare.
It needs to, as much as Capcom needs Monster Hunter to succeed.
Yeah.